sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and can even keep you from getting the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS.
In my last podcast, I talked about how important it was that we get out in this time as things are changing rapidly and people are saying, well, we'll have to wait and see, about how we better get off our ass and not wait and see, that there's never a bad time to go out and prospect. And now is as great a time as any. But there's a second part to that too, that's super important. And I think it's going to be even more important as we go forward. And that is we have to be better at disqualifying opportunities that are not going to close. Everybody talks about qualify. Great, fine. That's neat, right? Qualify intends, that word means that we've got to do some work to qualify them. Well, let me share something with you. Most people aren't qualified. What does that mean, Walker? Gosh, what are you saying? They're not qualified. Well, right now, how many people that you call and reach on the phone, or hell, maybe you have a meeting with, end up buying from you in the next 2 months? My guess is not many, right? Not many of them. Maybe you get in front of a bunch of people. How many of them are actually, how many that you're doing a proposal for right now are buying? Well, if the number is more than 50%, it means one of a couple of things. You're not charging enough money. Number two, it probably means you're not in front of enough people. We need to be not spending our time with people that aren't going to buy. If we can make that, if we can get it to 40% of the quotes that are put out there, 40% of the time we give someone the information, we get a yes, that's probably the right amount. Most people, it's way lower than that. 15, 20, maybe 25. How much time are you, which if you're getting 25% close ratio, that means 3 out of 4 are not buying from you. And my guess is 2 out of 4 aren't even calling you back. Before you give your proposal, before you give your numbers, tell them how you're going to fix a problem. Make sure that you know you're going to get a yes or a no once they see it. Now, before you even get there though, what you got to figure out is, do they have any pain? Pain is a buzzword in sales. I'm saying on the podcast, I'm sure most of you have heard it. Some of you know what it really means. Pain is the deepest level of emotional, compelling things. If we had 3 levels, 1 is a problem. Somebody admits they have a problem. Problem is, we need a new truck. The second level is the consequences of that problem. Well, the consequence of that problem is we can't ship enough stuff right now because we don't have enough trucks. Well, that's neat too, but that's not a compelling reason. The third level that matters the most is, what are the personal impacts on the person you're talking to about the consequences of that problem? We need a new truck because if we don't get a new truck, we can't ship enough stuff to our customers. We're already behind. The personal impacts are, and if I don't get that fixed, we're losing money. We can't do our turn fast enough. We could go out of business, or it's costing me money, or I could get fired. Personal impacts. What could happen to them? This can be a very uncomfortable conversation if you're not prepared to have it. You have to understand, a lot of people say, it's not my business what happens if they don't fix it, which is code for, I'm too much of a wuss to ask. Especially right now when we've got limited supply of materials. It's only so much we have to go around. And maybe it feels right now, I talked about this in the last podcast, for order taking. Throwing a bunch of numbers out. Here's what I'll tell you. Your ability to qualify people to practice right now, to see who is ready, who's got pain, and they need to do something now. Remember, there are 2 decisions somebody makes when they're going to buy something. 2 decisions they have to make first. Number 1, am I going to do something? Am I going to do something? So we got to make sure they're going to do something first. That's the first sale. If they're not committed to do something, no reason to give any numbers. Number 2 is, would you do that with us? Are you going to have dinner? And are you going to have dinner with me are 2 different questions, right? Are you going to do something? And then number 2, the second thing they got to prove is they're going to do something with you. At least you've got a shot. What I would say is you want to have an unfair advantage. You need to know what your unfair advantage is before you give your damn proposal away. If you don't know of an unfair advantage, you don't have one. Maybe you do. You need to find out what it is. Play that up. 50-50 is fine. I like to win. I need to know at least I have a shot. If I'm 1 out of 3 and there's not an unfair advantage that I have, I'm not moving in. I'm not giving them a price. I wouldn't suggest my clients do either. You can make a business decision to do it if you want to, but if you don't have an unfair advantage, something the prospect has pain for that other people can't solve, you're wasting your time. The only reason you get picked is if you're cheapest. And if you get picked because you're cheapest, they put no value in you and what you do. It's just a commodity. If you want to be in that business, good for you. I don't. You must learn to qualify. Are they going to do anything at all? I think I've said it a couple of times. 80% in the study done in 2017 and 18, 80% of people who called companies asking about a business-to-business product or service, 80% of them ended up doing nothing. If they called about a copier, they ended up buying no copier from anybody, 80% of them. My guess is at least half of them got a quote from somebody. Don't be that fool that's just a quote shop. You're not helping yourself. The second thing, to disqualify, do they have a budget? Are they prepared to spend the money that it takes? Where would they get the money? Where would it come from? How could they justify that? Who else needs to be a part of the conversation? Remember, in any sales call, somebody's selling and somebody's buying. And if you're talking and blah, 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 you're buying. If they're giving you excuses or saying, hey, we'll get to that, or money's no problem, that means you're buying their bullshit. Get to the truth. The last thing you need to understand is their decision-making process. Okay, if they don't have any pain, no reason to continue. Hey, sounds like it's not the right time. Love to help you, but I'd hate to waste your time. Sounds like this isn't the right time for you to do anything. If they say, no, we really don't have any money, or wouldn't know where we'd find it, or we'll just have to figure it out, and you can't get a straight answer, listen, I'd love to help you, but I don't know how we could proceed. Doesn't sound to me like it's the right time. Time we should talk again is when you say, hey, we've got a budget. Here's how much we're willing to spend. Then we can figure out an answer. The last piece they need to be qualified on is their decision-making process. When are they hoping to make a decision? If they're not making a decision for 6 months or 2 years, why in the hell would you give them a proposal now? When are they hoping to make a decision? Why then? Right? Why then? Because if we don't have it done by then, we're out of business. Well, there's more pain. Well, because we think that's a good time. Well, guess what? That's going to get pushed out in today's environment because prices are going up and things are getting harder. Find out why they have to make a decision then. Who else besides them needs to be involved? You need to know. Don't present to the wrong person. Don't present, and even if it's the damn CEO. That's why, are you the decision maker? Such a stupid question. The CEO probably is the decision maker, but he probably has other people he relies on. You don't want him to go sell it to somebody else, and you don't want somebody else to go sell it to him. Who else besides you needs to be part of this conversation? What would you guys need to see or hear from me to be able to make a decision? What do they want to see or hear? You may have this idea. You may have a perfect 600 slide deck to come wow them. But if they don't give a shit about the stuff on your 600 slides, you are wasting your breath and their time. What do they need to see? Maybe you're a technical person and you would need 600 pages of detailed information to make a decision. Well, listen, if they're a one-pager person like me, they're going to hang up on you. Eyes are going to glaze over. And if you're a one-pager person like me and they need 600 pages of data, you get to decide whether or not you want to mess with that. Make sure you're playing where you have an unfair advantage, where you know more than your competitors, where you understand your prospect better and your prospect knows you understand them better. And when you disqualify somebody and say, look, I don't think I'm going to be the right one to help you. I appreciate us having this conversation, but I think it's probably the wrong time or we're not going to be the right fit. And then give them a time to call you. The time to call me is when you say, we've got this and this and this. That's probably the time we should be talking again. See, when you call somebody back after a conversation like that, it's so easy to get to them. It's almost an easy conversation. Hey, listen, last time we talked, things didn't work out. You said everything was perfect. My guess is it's still perfect. But if you were the guy going, please, 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 let me get last look. Let me try and match it. Let me see what I can do. And you still don't get picked. I don't want to talk to you again because you're a whiny salesperson. Don't be that person. Learn to disqualify people before you get disqualified. Don't be the guy that's left with no return phone call. You're better than that. Go prospect, get in front of people, build your pipeline, differentiate yourself. It doesn't. Some will buy, some won't. So what? Who's next? The scariest part is when you don't have a who's next. Don't be a wuss. I'm Walker McKay with NoBS Sales.
Thanks for listening to the NoBS Sales School podcast. If you haven't already, please take 1 minute to write a quick review for the show. It really does make a huge difference. Also, subscribe to the show and please forward this episode to somebody else who needs to hear it. As a bonus for listening, I'm going to give you access to a free mini course, 7 expensive sales mistakes you're making and what you can do about it. Go to www.7salesmistakes.com and get access to the free mini course. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the NoBS Sales School podcast.